everyone, and welcome back to my yearly roundup of all the weird news that has happened in 2024. I'm back today with a few more weird tales from the year just past. This isn't your usual news roundup, this is strictly the stuff that makes you go, what? As quite frankly, the regular news is far too depressing and genuinely terrifying. So instead, we'll be exploring a few lighter, weird and wonderful stories that may have not made it into the regular newspaper during 2024. Now that's not to say that these stories don't dally with the dark side, because they most definitely do. But there's also some light-hearted strangeness too. But don't worry, if anything is going to be hideously awful, then I'll give you a heads up first. So with the disclaimer out of the way, let's jump into September. Before we kick off today's stories, if you are new here, then hi, my name's Nikki and I make podcasts, YouTube videos and TikToks about all sorts of weird stuff. So if you're into that, which I have a sneaking suspicion that you might be, then please hit subscribe so we can hang out together again. And if you're not new here, then welcome back, old fiend. Nice to see you again. Now, this series takes a lot of planning and effort to produce, and it's just me making everything. So if you fancy supporting what I make to help me create this series and beyond, then please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Macabre London for lots of bonus content. Now, let's get into the episode. Our first story today started off as me doing a double take of a headline and then realising that what I had just read was indeed right. The headline in question read, "Beloved Russian spy whale, Hvaldimir, is found dead under mysterious circumstances." So, of course, I had to immediately unpack that word salad and find out more. So it's now time for me to share my knowledge with you. Now, firstly, we have to rewind back to 2019, when this whale appeared on the scene. Popping up on the coast of Norway, a beluga whale first drew attention as he was approaching boats and popping up out of the water, trying to get the attention of humans on board. Now, interestingly, when he approached a fishing vessel and was sniffing around for food and attention from the fishermen, they realised something interesting about the whale. He was wearing a harness. When he obliged and came up out of the water for the fishermen and bobbed away in front of them, they were able to detach the harness. But on it, they were surprised to find that the item, which was made to carry a camera, which wasn't attached, had wording on it. The harness had been inscribed with the words, "Equipment, St. Petersburg." Now, this of course sparked all sorts of rumours about the whale, and he soon got a name, Hvaldimir, a clever combination of Hval, the Russian word for whale, and Demir, as in Vladimir, aka Putin. As the whale made his way around a variety of coastal areas in Norway, it was clear to anyone that encountered him that he was highly trained and very playful and sought out the attention of humans. He would react to hand signals and would often go to boats with the intention of getting those on board to come and play with him. Now, of course, in a digital age, it didn't take long before Hvaldimir's exploits made it onto the internet, and it seemed everyone that encountered him had a positive experience. He was helpful to people sharing his waters, and in one video clip he was seen helping a kayaker to retrieve their dropped GoPro camera and safely brought it back to them. Now, even though it seemed the whale was being kind to people, his inquisitive nature did get him in trouble on a few occasions, with him getting accidentally injured by boats, and it seemed a sad eventuality that at some point his curiosity would backfire and his trust of humans would be taken advantage of. A few marine conservation groups in particular, one that goes by the name One Whale, were dedicated to making sure Hvaldimir was protected and looked after. As word circulated about the friendly sea creature, many tourists wanted to see him, and so the poor guy was being hounded. Even though Hvaldimir liked the attention, he still needed to have a healthy respect of humans and stay a safe distance to avoid getting hurt. So one whale tried to help him with this. They were planning to transport Hvaldimir to a more remote location in the Arctic where he could join a beluga pod, as he was on his own and he needed the company of his own kind, as they're a very social species. This relocation and introduction was given the go-ahead by Norway's government, and the plans were made public. However, just 3 weeks later, Hvaldimir was found dead. Just outside of Stavanger in Norway, Hvaldimir was found floating lifeless in the ocean. One whale rescued the whale's body and towed it back to shore in order for a necropsy to be carried out. Now, here is where things get confusing, as the report, which was carried out by the Norwegian Veterinary Institute, stated that the animal had died from a likely bacterial infection. When carrying out the necropsy, a stick was found lodged in the whale's mouth, and it's believed he died as a result of the subsequent infection, which spread throughout his body. However, one whale, the group which were looking after him, said they thought differently. They'd had further tests done, which make them believe Hvaldimir was shot. So either way, this was an incredibly tragic end to Hvaldimir's life, as the creatures can live up to 30 years old. It seems even sadder knowing that he was due to be relocated and just narrowly missed out on his next chapter. Hvaldimir's skeleton has been promised to the University of Agder in Norway and will become part of their Natural History Museum collection, so even though he's gone, the beluga will still be an important research specimen for years to come. So, how do you feel about this story? Do you think this was just a tragic accident, or do you think there's more to the tale than meets the eye? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've been around for a while now, consuming my little tales, then you'll know there's one particular British cryptid that intrigues me, and that's Sam the Sandown Clown. This particular sighting happened in 1973, and it seems the incredible incident has now been memorialised for all posterity in the form of a statue. Now, if you've yet to watch my episode all about All Colours Sam, as he was known, then I will leave a link in the episode description if you want to check it out in full. But as a quick overview, here's the story in brief. On a summer's day in 1973, 2 children who were out playing near Sandown Airport said they'd encountered a strange creature who may have been from another world. He was a tall, wooden alien dressed like a clown who invited them into his spaceship, which was a small, windowless metal shack, and they sat there talking for a while as Sam ate berries which rolled around in his head, and he talked to them through a microphone attached to a speaker, which he wore, telling them his name was All Colours Sam. The strange encounter was reported to the children's parents, and they reported this to Bufora, the British UFO research agency. The article, which appeared in the journal of the same name, to this day remains the only source of the story. But since then, the story has cropped up on a regular basis as one of the weirder bits of folklore we have in the country. So, as it's become a well-known cryptid icon on the Isle of Wight itself, it only seemed fitting to commemorate the creature in all its 8-foot glory. Now, if you've never heard of the Isle of Wight, if you look at a map of the UK, it's the bit right at the bottom that's detached from everything else. Having grown up near there across the water in Portsmouth for the majority of my childhood, I can tell you now it's a weird time capsule of a place. Not unpleasant, but equally not the hottest destination around either. And I'm pretty sure if you're from the Isle of Wight, you'll probably agree with me. However, if I was going to invent a cryptid solely for the Isle of Wight, it probably would be entirely this. In a way, like the towns which have adopted their cryptids and now use them as their mascots and a way to drive tourism, such as Point Pleasant's Mothman and Nevada with Area 51, I would love to see the Isle of Wight embrace its strangest tale. So I was very pleased to hear that artist David Jones, a lecturer at Goldsmiths University in London, had gifted the Isle his 8-foot statue of the wooden alien ghost man thing to the residents, and it's now taken up residence near the original sighting of the creature at Sandown Airport. Now, of course, as it's an interesting looking statue, not all residents were overjoyed. But the ones who got the reference were very happy to see such an important part of the island's folklore heritage memorialised. So now the creature is a part of the island's landscape, I wonder if this will prompt Sam to return at any point, acting as a beacon to show how much of a deity he is to the locals. Time will only tell. So, much like Nevada has a whole shop dedicated to alien jerky and a whole host of Mothman-related businesses in Point Pleasant, I'd love to see a thriving weird tourist destination crop up from the implementation of a permanent all-colours Sam. And you can guarantee I'd be the first in line to buy the souvenir stick of rock. That's for sure. Sticking with the UFO theme, our next story sees us headed to China, where some unidentified flying objects caused havoc at an airport. On September the 11th, 2024, a number of unidentified objects were seen hanging around China's Tianjin Airport. The flying orbs were recorded by passengers and people who lived nearby, and they uploaded the videos quickly online. The UFOs, which seemed to pulsate and circulate through a variety of colours, disrupted more than 40 flights, causing some to be cancelled and some to be rerouted altogether. The flying blobs seemed to infiltrate the area of the airport, and they also hung around near the runway, which air traffic controllers said could be dangerous. In order to keep everyone safe, flights from the airport were downed altogether until the orbs disappeared. But the response quickly came from the airport that these flying objects were just drones, and they assured everyone they were dealing with the situation. When the news quickly spread across social media, accompanied with videos showing the amorphous shimmering blobs, aerospace experts were quick to weigh in. Aviation specialists from America intrigued everyone by saying that if these were drones, then the airport's security is very lax, as they should have been spotted quickly and removed. So speculation about what the strange sky objects were continued to run wild, with many people believing these were indeed extraterrestrial craft. Now, if you watch the video, clips of which I've put in on screen if you're just listening to the podcast version and want to check it out, are bizarre to say the least. At some points, they do just look like drones, but then in others, they're shimmering and shaking and almost look like jellyfish, so it's definitely odd. Now, of course, given the date, September the 11th, the sight of anything unusual near an airport would have been worrying. And so it would make sense to be even more vigilant to avoid anything unusual entering airspace. Now, interestingly, most commercial drones have inbuilt technology which stops them from flying into airspace, and they are fitted with automatic shutoff if there is any danger of them drifting somewhere they shouldn't. The geofencing is fitted to avoid commercial drones infiltrating airspace and potentially causing incidents like this. So if these were drones, then the chances are that they'd been tampered with and overridden the inbuilt systems to keep everyone safe. So it's safe to say that any drone found inside a flight path has to be treated with a sinister motive in mind. As yet, whoever was flying the drones, or the UFOs for that matter, has not been identified, and the whole case remains a mystery. Perhaps it was just Sam the Sandown clown trying to make his way to the Isle of Wight to say thank you for the statue, but he just got a little lost on the way. Thanks Thanks for joining me for that selection of weird stories. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you did, there'll be more along soon. So make sure you're subscribed or following if you're not already to keep up with the series. If you like the show and what I make in general and you want it to continue, then please consider becoming a Patreon supporter like our executive Patreon producers, Christina, Christoph, Heather Slegg, Lisa, Mary, Ravel, Sally, Sam, Sarah, Terry and Veronica, and all of our other patrons too. If you sign up to Patreon, you get access to a whole host of bonus content, including my extra podcast, Having a Problem. I've got loads of interesting stuff planned for 2025, so you're not going to want to miss it. If you'd rather just send a tip or a little Christmas gift from my Amazon wishlist, then I would massively appreciate that too, and I'll leave all the links in the show notes in case you want to check them out. Thank you ever so much for even considering doing any of those things, particularly when I know things are tight for a lot of people at this time of year. So it really does mean the world to me, and I'm always so pleased and grateful when listeners like you want to help me create this haunted history empire we can all call home, and it feels very good to know that you do. And of course there are all the free things as well, such as sharing the show around, telling your friends and family, leaving a comment and reposting my social media posts. All of that is all more helpful than you know. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I've been Nikki Druce. Remember to stay spooky, and I'll see you ghouls next time for October.